Hello, my name is Kirioth, and today we are going to basically have a small gushing session. I've got to stop. I don't know what I'm doing with sentences at the moment, but they all sound terrible. We're going to talk about that Necron construct thing, okay? So, I was going to say we're going to have a small gushing session, but that just sounds absolutely awful in every way. So, this is the Seraptek heavy construct. And the thing is, we've already seen this. This is not something new. But there's been a fair amount of I believe, fairly justified negativity towards Forge World recently, with the price hikes that they put through, the total lack of response, lack of, in my eyes, reasonable and sensible response to the kind of backlash that got. Just the way that was all handled. I haven't really taken a look at Forge World for, I want to say, maybe a couple of months. Whenever that happened, it was a case of waiting to see what happened. And then nothing happened, which, to be honest, I'm not that surprised about. I am disappointed because between the petition and some of the stuff that MacLeod from the Outer Circle was doing, I mean, he sent some pretty good stuff their way, basically just asking for some sort of communication, and there was nothing. That leaves a bit of a bad taste in the mouth, to be honest. And so I haven't been paying a huge amount of intentional attention towards Forge World. But the thing is, whether or not they are doing what I would class as the preferable thing when it comes to the price hikes, and whether or not they're actually responding to people the way that I think that they should, there's also a separation between the people who make those decisions and the people who actually make the product. And so when I was looking through the Warhammer community site today, I realised I'd skipped over something that I really, really like. We talked about this when we first saw, I think it was renders for it, it might have been pictures of an actual model, I can't remember, but it is the Seraptek heavy construct, which is a Necron, it seems Knight equivalent. And I've got to be honest, now that we have a picture fully in colour, with a couple of different angles, I believe this is the first one we've had in full colour and from angles in colour, this is, I think, one of my favourite models to come out of Forge World for quite some time. I don't know what it is about it that I like so much, but it just fits everything that I would want to see from a larger Necron construct. The kind of reimagining of the Necrons was a bit weird to me, as someone who had an army of them when their first proper codex came out. You know, there's so many different units, and coming back to the game after missing an additional two, and then seeing the Necrons having changed so much, it was kind of jarring. And it took me a little while to get used to the Triarch Stalker and the fact that the Wraiths were now the Canoptek Wraiths, and they looked way different to what I remember. But they were also very distinct, perhaps a little more distinct than they used to be. And now, having actually taken a good look at this kind of Knight equivalent, I think easily it's got to be one of the best things Forge World has done for quite some time, just because of how completely appropriate and yet completely fresh it looks. So I think it would have been kind of easy, given that it's Necrons, to just do a Tesseract Volt Mark II. Just a big blocky monolith style thing. It would have worked, no one would have batted an eye, but it wouldn't have been that impressive. The Seraptek is just so weird and so completely alien. It's there are obviously full-on nods and design elements from the Necrons, the big spine that comes out the top of it, the almost shoulder kind of shape of the body, the way it kind of mimics the Immortals and the I was going to say the Pariahs, but I don't think Pariahs exist anymore, do they? The close combat guys, I can't remember their names off the top of my head. There are nods to all these different Necron units, and ordinarily I'd say trying to make something that looks like everything that an army has will end up just looking like a mess. Something that takes a little bit of everything from every part of that force would not look good. But this thing genuinely seems to have bits of almost every other Necron model. There are elements of almost everything else that the Necrons have incorporated into this thing, and it just looks really fucking good. Like, it's one of those things where I keep looking at it thinking, that actually looks better than it has any right to be. It looks a little bit like everything that the Necrons have. Everything the Necrons have access to in some way seems to be on this model, and that absolutely shouldn't work. It should look like a confused mess, but it doesn't. It looks familiar and completely different at the same time. It looks a little bit creepy. It looks a little, almost, it looks like it shouldn't be intelligent, but then it kind of looks like it is. I don't know what it is about this thing, but it's got to easily be one of my favourite things that they've done. Just because of how, I guess, how well it's all come together. There are so many different elements and aspects to it, and they've somehow managed to pull it off, like, almost flawlessly. I just can't see a part of this model where I'm like, they could have done that a bit better. I mean, even like, down to the back of it, somehow they've created a walker that looks like the Triarch Stalker. It looks like the infantry. It looks like it has elements of, like, the Wraiths, and it also looks like the Annihilation Barge and the Catacomb Command Barge. There are, like, elements from all of these things piled into this massive, like, knight-size unit, and it doesn't look like an incoherent mess. It actually looks decent. It looks like it's supposed to exist. It looks like a thing that should be, which I know is going to sound a bit weird, but sometimes when you introduce a new unit to any army, it can look a bit off, like it doesn't look quite as though it belongs there. I could easily believe that this thing has been available and part of the Necron range since the start, just because of how well it fits in, especially given the size of it. Like, the scaled up nature of these kind of things can often look a bit off, but it just doesn't. It just looks really fucking good. Now, I'm not going to buy one because I don't have a Necron army, and that would be mental, and I dread to think how much it's going to cost. I don't think we have a number for that yet, but it's kind of sufficiently impressed me enough that it's kind of reminded me that, yeah, the way Forge World has handled things recently is not great. But the people who decide how much stuff costs are not the people who do the actual designs. They're not the ones who create stuff like this. And however many people are responsible for the creation of this, they did a really, really good job because it looks great. That's pretty much it. It's literally just me gushing over the fact that I love this model. And to be honest, I'm interested to know if the Necron players especially, what do you make of it? Do you like it as much as me, or do you think it's missing something? Do you think it's lacking something, or do you think it is actually really, really good? I'd be interested to know what actual Necron collectors think of this thing, because it's all very well me going on and on about it, but you're the ones who are potentially going to be buying it. So, yeah, let me know in the comments down below. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to click all of this shit. Click it if you like, don't click if you don't want to. And I will see you for the next one. Toodaloo.